Santa baby.
But are we just karaokeing here today for you? You're in a singing mood these past few weeks. Like more than
maybe
usual.
I'm a little wicked.
Oh, God. Wait, does that make me...
Makes you Glinda.
It does make me Glinda. Okay. I'll take it, I guess. Whatever. Hello, welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. And to quote the Scottish philosopher known as Donovan, it's the season of the witch, baby.
Ooh, let's go.
Yeah, Wicked is crushing it right now. Even you could argue Agatha All Along, the Disney Plus show, kind of flew under the radar, but everyone
I didn't even know that came out.
It's got its full season out, and everyone said good things about it, I would say. And I think part of it did get buried because of Penguin, but I would argue both of those shows. Again, I haven't seen Agatha All Along yet, but both those shows exceeded their expectations.
Yeah.
But Penguin still was kind of set at a little bit higher bar, and so Agatha kind of got buried. But granted, the whole point is, if it's a good time to be a fan of fictional witches, I guess.
Yeah.
This is not a sentence I thought I would say, I guess, but it is. I don't know. That's just kind of what I was thinking about here. And, as we kind of go through this episode, we'll maybe talk a little bit about that a little bit more. Nothing really special, I think, about this one here. This is just a basic episode.
Yep, pretty chillaxed.
Yeah, I would call it that. We're not going to really do anything big as far as the opening spotlight goes here. In fact, I was kind of debating on taking one off here because, Thanksgiving holiday and all that. But it is still a pretty busy movie weekend here. So we're getting back down here. We're doing one more before the Thanksgiving holiday for you guys. So that way you know what else is going out here this weekend. But let's kind of talk about our last week. We did something
we did something pretty wild, actually.
And I'm not sure if I think we could do it again.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to.
I was going to say, I could definitely do it again.
I know you could.
I could.
It's because you're running on an atomic battery somewhere in your body.
It's called a CPAP machine. It recharges you. It keeps you going.
So we essentially did a late night trip. I want to call it a triple feature, although it was 3 separate nights. But
they were late nights.
We did a couple. We had a lot of catching up to do.
Yes.
You especially have been busy with postseason football stuff, and I've been busy with some other stuff as well. So we were trying to catch up. And they're 3 separate movies, but they have one very big theme that interconnects them. And I would actually argue that kind of actually ties us into Moana as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But we watched Heretic, and then we watched Wicked way late at night, and then we watched Gladiator 2. 3 very distinct separate movies.
And 2 of those are very long.
Very long. Yeah. Noticeably. But as we were kind of watching through the third one, I was like, there's an interesting theme interconnected in all of these. False gods, false prophets, false just ideologies in general. If I told you those 3 movies had something huge in common, and I'm not saying like it's a minor plot line, it is a major thread in each of them.
One would say almost a cornerstone of the movie, or the messaging that the movie's trying to get across.
I would say the 4 cornerstones of the movie.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So I thought that it was just kind of interesting. These 3 separate ones, and I don't know how much we want to get into it because I don't want to spoil some of these.
Well, and like one of them, obviously, with is more of a horror thriller approach. One is an epic, talking big, grand scale, larger than life, set pieces, everything awesome.
And the other one is Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No,
and the other one's
where you're going
more of a best friend, musical, fun vibe. But they all cover the same thing, just in a very different way.
Yeah.
But they're all basically the same thing. They are questioning what's real and
what have I been told? What have I been told that is actually like legit? What has just been a setup? What has just been something to provide false hope? And I think ultimately, at the end of the day, the question you can ask at the very end of each of these movies is ignorance bliss? I have jokingly, but kind of not so jokingly, said, yes, it is bliss. Does that make it right, though?
Yep. That was One of my friends in high school, shout out Mitch Patzer, he always said, ignorance of the law is not an excuse, where, like, if you didn't know you were speeding in some zone and they bumped it down to 20 miles an hour because of something, but you're speeding through it, but you were going 30, you thought it was 30, is that still your fault, even though maybe they didn't have a post? So, like, ignorance is not an excuse. So it's a great question.
It is if you've been misdirected.
Yes.
So, like, going back to your kind of speeding metaphor, it's like, well, if the sign that still said it was still 30 was still up, then you have a little bit of an excuse. But, yeah, if the law had changed and they had changed it and you just didn't see it, does that give you a pass?
Yeah.
But in these movies, it's kind of like, well, all right, you have these ideologies, you have these people you look up to, and in each of them, I can't stress this enough. It was just crazy how we saw all these three in a row, and it's just these three random movies, and all of a sudden we're like, it's the same idea in each of them.
Yeah, they're all
made by
the
like
same.
Different studios, different time.
Yep.
One's a sequel, one was a A24,
Yeah.
one was based off a Broadway musical for 2003.
Yeah.
And we just happened to see those three in a row, and it's like, well, is knowing better or worse?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we'll get a little bit more of an answer in one of them, because part 2 is coming out next year, which, by the way, it won't be till November. I was kind of bummed when I read that.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
Because I really, really enjoyed that one for sure. But I don't know. I don't really know how much more we can talk about this philosophically without actually going into the spoilers here. But what I'm trying to say here is there's a lot of good movies out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be some more here. It is a very good time. So if any of you out there, I say this on the radio station all the time, if any of you out there come back Monday and say you were bored, there's nothing to do, that's just on you. You weren't trying.
Yep.
You weren't trying. So, I don't know. Is there anything else we want to talk about with these ones? Or
no, I would say if they're around you, go check them out. They're really good. All three of them deserve a watch.
Sorry, I left this. I don't know if you can see it on camera. I left it in my car. It's basically just solid block. And I'm getting a little bit of water each time, but it's difficult.
Nick's kind of a thirsty guy.
I'm more thirsty now before I took the first attempted sip at this, just because the effort of trying to get the water out, I think, made me more thirsty.
Oh, that's funny.
But, yeah, let's just, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode here, so let's just go straight into the weekly preview. Like I said, quite a few things here, actually, to talk about, so let's get things started with a big-ticket item here, Moana 2, coming to theaters here.
Yep.
You going to sing to this one, too?
You know,
you were singing a little bit during Wicked. I don't know about that.
It took me a while, but I shouldn't say it like that. There were songs that I knew, and I surprisingly knew them a lot better than I thought I did, and it was like, oh yeah. So I'm interested. I want to hear some people that went and watched it that first week. Were the theaters singing? Were there a lot of people into it? I don't know.
There were some companies that were saying specifically not to. I don't believe they had any sign or said anything over at Marshall 6, at least that I noticed.
And I know The Rock said something about, hey, if you pay for a ticket, go and sing.
Which I don't necessarily agree with.
Yeah, because
if he's going to make the argument, hey, you paid a ticket to go and watch this movie and sing your heart out, I can make the argument of, hey, I paid a ticket to see these people perform this, and I want to hear them perform this, and I don't need someone from behind me singing off key because they're not Ariana Grande and Cynthia Evero because they're awesome. Yeah. And I don't need that I could argue I paid the ticket to see them perform. I want to see them perform it and not get that distraction.
And I would almost wonder if it would have been better to do kind of like what they did with the Taylor Swift thing. Like, hey, these 3 showtimes are sing-alongs. Yeah. Expect people to be singing for these times. These times, absolutely no singing allowed. You're watching the movie. So,
or at the very least, like in every other, because you can't assume everyone is going to be able to make those showtimes if it's earlier or later, and just like kind of do every other. Like, all right, if you go into this one, expect singing. Go into this one, just please don't.
Yeah, and that's like a very individual theater thing. Yeah, that if they want,
but that is kind of hard to just whatever. But I don't. Yeah, I kind of disagreed with The Rock on that one there personally, but I don't know. You started singing too, but we were kind of there was only a few of us in the theater at the time, so it wasn't like too distracting.
Wasn't too bad.
Well, I didn't want to say that. It wasn't too distracting.
I'm not a good singer. So,
but anyways, back to this musical here, Moana 2, coming to theaters here this weekend, rated PG. Thanksgiving weekend has been very good for Disney for pretty much like a decade now, at least.
Yeah.
So I'd see that trend continuing here. I feel like I've got to say, elephant in the room, I am not the biggest fan of the first Moana movie. I like the characters. Mm-hmm. I like the character of Moana. I think she's one of the best ones that Disney made up till that point. And then I think Mirabel from Encanto was a great one as well. But I like the characters. I just didn't like the story and the mission and everything surrounding it. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense that the water that can hold the thing can't just go tidal wave the monster and just place it itself. Mm. And if the movie had set up some reason like, oh, it was a demigod that took it away, it has to be a human. Even if you had made some sort of stupid lore, then I would have at least been like, well, okay, at least you tried.
At least you thought of that.
But there's no reason why you send a child to do this mission against the lava monster.
Yeah.
At least as far as the movie sets it up. So I just can't get into the story. But I knew early on watching it, I was like, I like this Moana character. Mm-hmm. So when they did announce a sequel, I was not too annoyed by that. Yeah. Because I want to see what else she can do. And I think this movie and this trailer has shown she is fully taken over as far as like her mission of exploring, conquering the waves, going and finding their other tribes and everything. And I really think she's in her element. And I'm looking forward to that for sure. But.
Yep. Yeah, no, it'll be good. I know my family wants to go watch it, so we'll go.
I was going to say, Moana's pretty big in your house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. This might be kind of a side discussion here as well, but what do we think of them shooting essentially the live action version of that first movie while at the same time this is happening?
Terrible. Yeah. I don't like it. I think it's awful. But what do I know?
You know a thing or two.
I know a thing or two. But I'm sure it's going to be a big moneymaker. And yeah, I don't know.
This could very well be the thing that finally. Okay, let me rephrase that. Mm-hmm. When that live action version comes out, because it's being filmed right now, we've seen set photos and everything. This could very well be the thing that cements live action adaptations forever, or it may finally get the executives to start listening to what we've been saying. Because if it does end up making money, it doesn't have to make gangbusters, but if it makes enough money to could be considered profitable, well, then the executives are going to be like, well, you guys complain about it all the time, but people showed up for it.
Yeah.
But even if it does sort of falter, that might finally be where they sort of like pushed it too far. I'm worried because it is such a recognizable property, and it's very popular, I'm sure, in other family houses like yours as well, mm-hmm. that it will probably make its money and then some. Mm-hmm. And then any argument we could possibly come up with, no matter how logical or illogical, will mean nothing.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the dollar is king.
Yeah.
And if it makes a lot of money, they're going to keep doing it.
I mean, you have to have a lot of money to make these big movies, mm-hmm. so I do get it. I hate it, but I get it.
Yeah.
But... yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping this one will do good as well. You don't want to wish ill on a movie because people work hard on those.
Yeah.
I'm worried that is going to be the one where it's going to be like, there's no going back.
Yep.
There's no turning back on that.
I think it's going to be harder to, if I had to bet, I would say 60% flop, 40% massive success.
I'd give it an even 50-50.
50-50? All right.
Because, well, I was going to say you have the Dwayne Johnson angle, but Red One didn't do as well.
No.
So you can't use that card as much anymore. But anyways, all right. That's a conversation for another time here. Yeah, I don't have a lot written down here, so I'm just kind of going off book this week. But I don't know. Anything else we're looking forward to as far as Moana 2? Obviously, it's going to be good music, good animation, and all that.
Is it still Lin-Manuel Miranda?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is.
If it is, they weren't marketing it like that, which that used to be like the main thing. Like you would see that before some of the characters or actors' names.
Yeah.
But let me just double check here because we try to be factual here.
None of that misinformation stuff.
We're just going to put some elevator music over this while I slowly type.
Here, I can add the typing noise. It's Popcorn Bucket ASMR.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's on to bigger and better things.
Probably. And he's probably working on some other stuff.
Yep.
All right. Well, then let's. Obviously, everyone knows what they expect. What to expect with Moana 2. I think it's going to be good. I think it will be one last side note here. I think it will be an interesting box office competition because you had a lot of momentum with Wicked. You had a lot of momentum with Gladiator 2. I'm curious if any of those two are going to be enough to siphon a little business from Moana 2. Now that there's been some bigger... I think people were questioning Wicked 2 because of the runtime, but now that there have been so many good reviews about it, people are like, okay, we can go see that with family.
Yeah, and I think, obviously I don't think it'll siphon anything from Gladiator. That two separate audiences.
Yeah, that's fair.
Some of the audience from Wicked and Moana will have the crossover, but obviously Moana is a little bit more for children, and Wicked's maybe a little bit older. Those teen/young adults that remember Wicked from years ago when it came out, there's going to be huge, more of a crowd for that.
It's shaping up to be one of the best Thanksgiving box offices.
Yep.
It's been kind of slow these past few years, so
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that. But also coming out here this weekend, Dear Santa. This one's coming straight to Paramount Plus, rated PG-13. I kind of feel like this one could have been rated R as well.
Santa baby.
But are we just karaokeing here today for you?
Yeah.
You're in a singing mood these
I am.
past few weeks. Like more than
Maybe
usual.
I'm a little wicked.
Oh, God. Wait, does that make me...
Makes you Glinda.
That doesn't make me Glinda. Okay. I'll take it, I guess. Whatever. Anyways, yes, so it's Dear Santa. This is a movie starring Jack Black. Basically, a kid, he writes a letter to Santa Claus, or so he thinks, but then he misspells it to Satan.
Satan.
Which, okay, I'm not going to judge anyone. I'm not the best speller.
I'm not either.
And, yeah, neither of us are ever going to claim that. But why does one put an end at the end of Santa? That makes no sense. Anyways, long story short, hijinks are supposed to ensue because instead of writing to Santa, he writes to Satan. So Satan, who is played by Jack Black, comes to grant this kid 3 wishes.
If you're a big fan of Jack Black, you'll like this.
He is good consistently. That is for sure. And I think he's good in this. So, yes, to your point, if you're a Jack Black fan, this I think will be good. I do think it will be funny. I think the setup for the premise is a little dumb, but I think it's funny.
Yep.
If that makes any sense. But, yeah.
I hope he has some Tenacious D references in there. That'd be pretty cool. Like if he says something, he's like, oh, that was like the greatest song ever written. Or at least a tribute to the greatest song ever. Like something like that. That would be so funny. So funny.
Well, we know that he's going to have some music references here because Post Malone also involved in this
Posty.
one. Yeah. So, I'm not the biggest Post Malone fan, but he works. He does a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
If you ever look up his very first music video, you should do it. It's from high school. It's pretty awesome.
That does actually sound kind of interesting.
Have you seen it?
No.
We'll watch it after this.
Yeah, you'll force me to watch it.
Yeah, it's good.
Also coming out here, this I should mention, in case I forgot to mention before, these 3 movies coming out Wednesday, November 27th, so already out by the time this video is out. But the third one that's coming out here Wednesday, Sweethearts. This one's coming straight to Max. This one's rated R. The only movie that's really actually set on Thanksgiving. All these others are Christmassy or tropically or whatever.
Except for last year's surprise Tim Dillon hit Thanksgiving.
I'm saying this weekend. Movies coming out this weekend that are.
But there's not very many movies based on Thanksgiving.
To be fair, I think the reason why is because Thanksgiving is known for the one thing. You sit down and you eat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some people also do football. But when you look at Christmas, it's like, okay, you sit down, eat, you give gifts, trade presents, all that. You build snowmen. Sometimes there is snow outside during Thanksgiving, so you could, but that's not like a Thanksgiving thing. Yeah. It's really only known for the one thing.
Yeah.
So it is harder to make, I would say, movies off that.
Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, there's not a lot of Thanksgiving movies out there, but this one is set around that time, specifically when that time when college students come back home and have to deal with reuniting with maybe past teachers or whatever, people
family, friends,
all that sort of stuff.
All of it.
So here we have 2 characters who are the best of friends. They both have high school relationships that they kind of want to get out of, so they decide to do it during Thanksgiving break. Because to be fair, not only do they want to do it together because they're good friends, but they want to do it in person. They don't want to be one of those people who break up over text or anything like that. So you got to give them that respect, I feel like, a little bit. But
yeah. I think I called it, 10 seconds into the trailer?
I think you're wrong. I think they're not going to end up with each other.
No.
But then again, I also
That's all that. Now that you say that, that's predictable.
Yeah. It's so predictable. It reverses itself to being unpredictable.
Yeah.
No, they're probably going to end up together. Well, even though they're the best of friends and everyone thinks it's weird that they're a guy and a girl who are best friends, now they're going to end up together. That's just movie law, I think. But I'd love to be proven right on that one, but I'm not very good at betting against you right now. So
champ, baby.
Yeah, that's
bring me them quarters.
Yeah, that's not a. We don't have to go into that. That's a long story. I don't. Do you think this one is going to be trying to be more comedic or a little bit more dramatic?
I think it's going to do both, but I think the comedy is going to be okay, and I think the drama is going to be okay. I don't think they're going to hit a home run on either of them.
I think they're going to think it's more funnier than it is, and they're going to think it's more dramatic than it is.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be swinging, and the second they hit it, they think it's a home run or at least a triple, and they're going to be lucky to get a single.
Yep.
I don't know if that made any sense, but we're trying to shout out our sports fans out there.
That's a great analogy, Nick.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
I'm not really sure if it made sense in my head here. So
in my head, it made sense.
That may have justified why it's a bad analogy. Then. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you. Anyways, let's keep going through here. Like I said, a couple more. These ones are coming out Friday, November 29th. The usual day movies do premiere. Beatles 64. This one's coming straight to Disney Plus, but I believe you can also watch it on Hulu. Just a documentary about the Beatles specifically around the time. I was gonna say for a second there, I had to double check because I know we talked about one recently.
Yeah.
And I just had to make sure it was not the same one.
Yeah, it was the last one wasn't that like Peter Jackson's like tapes or something?
I think so.
Or somebody's tapes,
or they colorized it or something. But this one specifically is kind of looking at the time period in America and the impact the Beatles had on that time.
Yep.
Which we don't see often with documentaries, especially big group documentaries. It's usually like, we're going to try and cover as much of their life as we can because there's so much to cover. Here, they're like, all right, what was Beatlemania like? What was America like at the time before?
For this specific year, what was Beatlemania like?
Yep. And its effects and all that. Both of us were kind of surprised, produced by Martin Scorsese.
Yep.
Because there is a clip where he's like sitting there talking with one of the people he's interviewing, and I literally turned and was like, was that Scorsese? Did he produce this? And then 30 seconds later, it was on screen produced by Martin Scorsese. It was like, oh, okay, well, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Good for him. But last but certainly not least, Nutcrackers, also coming straight to Hulu.
Nutcracker.
Doesn't really have anything to do with Nutcrackers, I guess. I'm not really sure where that title came from.
I bet Ben Stiller gets hit in the nuts at least once in this.
At least once. Yeah. At least once.
It's hard because I like Ben Stiller. I think this is a great concept, but they literally just did it with that greatest pageant show ever, Christmas Time Miracle movie. And it's like the exact same thing, just a little different. And it's got Ben Stiller. But I really like Ben Stiller, but it's coming straight to streaming.
I'm with you. He's been doing a lot more behind the scenes stuff, and he's been killing it with that. And I wonder if this was just like, hey, I just kind of want to do something in front of the camera, and his agent's like, well, here's the first thing.
Yeah, we can do this pretty quick.
Schedule wise, it'll work. And it doesn't look like the greatest project.
No.
Because I'm with you. It seems like the heart is there, but this is just the nature of the game. Sometimes a movie does the same thing before you.
Yep.
Nothing you can do about that.
Yep.
But and I think the greatest Christmas pageant ever did do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And I didn't laugh too much in this one, which is a shame because again, same boat. I'm a big fan of Ben Stiller.
Yep.
But
ever since I saw Escape from Dannemora, and I heard he had produced and maybe directed an episode or two, I was like, Ben Stiller, let's go.
I was gonna say he's been pretty big both in front and behind the camera pretty early on in his career. It's been he's been learning for a while.
That was like the turning point for me. I was like, this is really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah. But that is pretty much everything coming out here this weekend. Let's just wrap up this little bit shorter episode with some number one recommends. I think I am going first this weekend. So I'm going to go with Wicked. I have a feeling we were either going to recommend one or the other of a different movie here,
yeah.
But I'm just going to go first and say Wicked. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm a stickler for runtime. If your movie's going to go over 2 hours, you better earn it. And I did not feel like this was a 2.5 hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
It felt shorter. I don't know how they do that sometimes, because with Heretic, like that one movie was only like an hour 50, but it felt like a little over 2 hours.
Yeah,
I mean,
it felt
a little longer than what the runtime was. Here's the opposite. It was, you knew when it was going to end because you knew how the Broadway show went. But as soon as it ended, I was like, no, I want more. I want to act 2 right now. I had the same reaction when we saw Dune Part 2, another very long one. But the way that ended, I was like, I don't want the fun. Let's keep the party rolling here. I want to see what else you guys are doing on this planet.
Yeah.
I want to see what else you're doing in this world. The music is incredible. The choreography, the set pieces, all of it, A+ in my book. This is one of the top movies. I'd say maybe top 10 for me so far this year.
All right, good.
But that's my recommend here. What are you going to be recommending this week?
Well, did I recommend Heretic last week?
I think you did, yeah.
Yeah, because I think we watched it Tuesday night and then we filmed on Wednesday.
Yeah, we
right?
filmed on Wednesday. Then.
Perfect. So then I'm going with Gladiator 2. Can you look up that actor's name for me, the main guy?
It's something Mescal.
Yeah. Pedro Pascal's character, awesome. Samuel.
You mean Denzel?
Real.
That's almost as bad as that one clip where Samuel L. Jackson got confused for Lawrence Fishburne on that.
Like news show or something? Yeah.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, Denzel Washington was awesome. He was very well done. Also, the guy from Eddie from Stranger Things is one of the twins emperors, which was crazy. Took me a moment to realize that. It's like, oh, my. And the Hound from Game of Thrones. So there's kind of some wild people in there that really round out this cast. Very cool. But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very good sequel to Gladiator, as in, yes, there are some similar beats from the first Gladiator movie, but it also has its own twist and kind of own way of solving things, I guess, or just the path that it went down. So Ridley Scott, great job. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
I mean, I'll say there's only so much you can do as far as like when your story is focused on gladiatorial things in a coliseum in this one area.
Yeah.
But they do find ways to keep it fresh. And keep you kind of interested as far as everything that's going on. So.
And the whole idea of, like, they actually did that in the Coliseum, though. Like, some of the things they do in this one, they actually did that. Like, people don't understand how crazy the Coliseum was. Wild.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. Stay safe out there, folks, during Black Friday. I feel like there was, like, the pandemic where we weren't doing as much, and now it's kind of getting hairy again.
Look, watch Thanksgiving. From like 2 years ago or a year ago. Watch that to get ready for Black Friday.
Or as a cautionary tale for Black Friday.
As a cautionary tale.
And to leave things on a little bit of a cheesy note, on behalf of all of us here at Omni Entertainment, we're thankful for you guys who watch consistently week in and week out. We know there's some of you out there, and we really do appreciate you. While you're out and about, eating with your friends and family, when someone brings up at the table, hey, what are you watching recently? Just feel free to bring up the show, maybe. I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying you could
giving you an option.
You could say that if you so wanted to, but just a thought. But for myself, Ryan Carter up in the booth, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.